And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast, mixed in with a little bit of nightcap, brought to you by the Holy Grail, mixed in with a little galactic fried chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, it is football season, it is basketball season. If you are down at the banks, stop by and visit our good friends, our partners at the Holy Grail. They will get you taken care of. Some ice cold Cincy Light. Remember, every Cincy Light you buy from the Holy Grail, an additional 50 cents from your purchase will be donated into the Cincy Reigns Fund. So make sure you are supporting those that are not only supporting us, but are supporting the Bearcats and the Bearcats student athletes, our good friends at the Holy Grail. And you know the deal on Galactic Fried Chicken. Tell them to pump it up. Down in Dayton, Kentucky, save yourself 15%. I believe they'll be back in business on Saturday. So taking the holiday, taking a couple days off for Thanksgiving as they should. Well, Aaron, I just have one question. Did you have fun tonight?
Tonight was fun. Tonight was look, I mean, I think that anybody who would watch both games back to back would agree that this team tonight moved off the ball much better than they did a couple nights ago.
Yeah. Sorry, there's been some rearranging in my house, and there was stuff in my shot that my
all good. I mean,
OCD was. I'm
not even home, so I don't love this background compared to my normal background.
Right. It was a blast. It was Dave After Dark basketball version. So Dave is going to be joining us here in a little bit, and I believe he has been out to dinner and enjoying beverages with his friends. So I don't know what level of Dave After Dark we're going to get, but I assume it will be some level of Dave After Dark that will be joining us here in a little while. But because Dave was out, I'm going to assume he didn't have a chance to watch the basketball game. And since Aaron did watch the basketball game, we're going to talk about the basketball game with Aaron first, and then we'll take a look at Kansas a little bit and all that good stuff. But I don't even first off, man, Aziz Bandaogo. It's Bandaogo, I think. I waited till tonight to hear the official pronunciation over the loudspeaker. Aziz Bandaogo. So
not Bandaogo.
Bandaogo.
Okay.
Bandaogo.
I'm guilty. I'll put my hand up. I'm guilty of Bandaogo.
I've said
multiple
Bandaogo.
times.
Yeah, Bandaogo.
Okay.
So yeah, he made his debut tonight, and Aaron, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say something here that might be controversial. He is good at basketball.
That's what I've heard.
He does good basketball things. The basketball things that he does are pretty damn good. He didn't play a ton tonight. He officially logged 21 minutes. In those 21 minutes, he had 8 points. He was 3 of 4 from the floor. He was 2 of 3 from the free throw line. He grabbed 9 rebounds. Like, it didn't. Did that feel like a guy that had 9 rebounds?
Yeah, I think it did, actually.
Okay.
And just from the
way
they
just were easy is kind of what I was getting at. Like, it didn't seem like a lot of hard work. Like, all of a sudden he just had 9 rebounds.
I think we all had our eye on him. So for me, it was not a surprise that he had 9. It was, I don't know. I mean, he was the focus of everyone tonight, including Georgia Tech, I think. And I'm happy. Truthfully, I'm happy that they eased him into this team the way that they did. Everybody at this point, you're 4-0. Everyone has earned their time. They've earned their stripes, if you will. And I don't think you just needed to inject a guy who had not yet seen, as Wes put, competitive basketball this season yet, while the other guys have logged 4 games, and just put him where he's going to be in a month. I don't think that's where you wanted to be with the team. I don't think that's where you wanted to be with Aziz. And I think that they did a very good job as tempting as it may have been to log him 25, 30 minutes in this game to try and play catch up, I think that this was the right move on all counts.
So he comes in, and immediately you see the shot blocking, and I loved the angle that they showed on TV wasn't as good as like the side angle where they showed him kind of stalking the backside of the play like a lion getting ready to leap on its prey. And I mean, it was a volleyball spike. Like he was up near the top of the square and just spanked it into the crowd.
Well, I guess
good.
I guess the thing that I'm most excited about tonight is the stuff that is not going to actually show up on the stat sheet. And that's all of the shots that he altered, that whether it showed up as a block or not, that's the thing to be probably most excited about for me, is just how much did you change what this team could do in and around.
After that first block shot, Georgia Tech had no interest.
Nope.
They had no interest in going at the rim.
It was Marty Gilliard's ghost who caught the shot where you're shooting it at one of these silo trajectories. It looked like something that no shot that's going in outside of being a trick shot.
It was his hand that hit the net, but his head would have hit the top of the square almost. But yeah, I think there were 2 or 3 times Keegan and I sit next to each other at games where it was like that would have been a layup easily in the first 4 games, and Georgia Tech's guys just going, I'm not going in there. Like I'm not trying that shit. I'm getting out of here. Hi, Dave.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you guys?
Are you lubed up?
No. We just drove home like an hour, so
okay,
hour or more.
Well, you didn't drive.
No, I was riding shotgun. Had a wonderful dinner. Any of our Dayton fans, highly recommend Sueño in downtown Dayton. Nice Mexican spot. Had a lovely lamb birria. It was place was very good. Very good.
I take it you didn't get to watch the game.
Did not see 1 second. Tried to check my phone. Saw that it was, a fairly close first half. I think the Bearcats were pretty much in control from the jump. Or maybe not from the very, very beginning, but from whatever I saw, they had a lead. And then I checked it in the second half and saw that they were up 35-6, and said, well, I'm going to probably have to watch the second half at some point, maybe tonight or tomorrow. So seems like it was a fun game to go to.
Dave, all you need, and here's the craziest part of this thing, and I think what we should do here, since Aaron and I watched it, is Aaron and I will discuss, and if you have questions, you can interject, so we can walk you through what you might have seen or missed. But at one point, they went on a 30-2 run in 6.5 minutes. I don't know that I've ever seen a Cincinnati basketball team score 30 points in 6.5 minutes.
Chad, we saw how many halves where they didn't score 30 points, let alone 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that is that's productive, efficient, whatever adjective you want to use.
It was fun. And it was offense and defense was the thing that impressed me about it, Aaron. It wasn't just that they got hot offensively. It was just stop, steal, stop, like grind it out, and then go right down the floor and get a bucket.
For me, it was also just how hyped the bench was. From the very last guy on the bench, which I believe is, what's his name, Long, the walk on, but
Landon Long.
From him all the way through Ray, through CJ Anthony, like all those guys, like they're just bouncing and hyped and throwing towels and the stuff that you normally see, I guess, on the football sideline, not so much on the basketball sideline. And they're just jumping around, having the best time of their life. And some of these guys aren't even logging minutes, but just
Bob was like the get back coach. He's like keeping everybody off the floor.
It was just, I don't know that, I can't remember a time that I've seen the bench that hyped up where they're just, everything was falling, everything coming up cherries. It was great.
Everything was coming up Bearcats, Aaron.
Sure. Threes all day. And I'm not a three guy, and this game is even fun to watch. I'd much rather pound around down low and dunk, but
yeah, Dave, at the 17 minutes and 21 seconds left in the first half, Georgia Tech made an and one, and it was 48 to 35. 17 minutes and 21 seconds, right? And at the 10-minute, 56-second mark, it was 78 to 37.
That's good. It's good.
I'm well aware it's a dinosaur take, but I still love dunks more than I love threes. Threes aren't fun. They're just all right. It's a three. I get it.
The extra point is important.
I'm sure, but it's not. It's nowhere near as fun as watching a guy throw a dunk down on another guy's face.
See, 11 guys score.
Yep.
Vic was.
I was going to go through real quick. Just the 30 points, how they were scored. A layup by Aziz, and he gets fouled and makes the free throw. 2 free throws by CJ Anthony. Day hits a step back. CJ hits a 3. Vic hits a 3. CJ hits a 3. CJ hits a 3.
You have to clarify which CJ because you've already mentioned CJ Anthony.
Frederick.
Okay.
Yeah, Frederick. Then Dan Skillings with the offensive rebound layup. Dan Skillings with the driving layup. Free throw by Dan. 3 by Jizzle. And then 2 free throws by John Newman. They did all that in 6 minutes.
It's good.
It is good. Aaron will hit you with the dinosaur takes. He loves dinosaur takes.
I don't care. That's the thing. Like that's how I feel. And that's, if people want to watch Steph Curry ball, that's fine. Like I'm not opposed to it, but I would much rather see the clutch 3 as opposed to just spraying threes. And I like dunks. Don't be mad because I like dunks.
So for me, what was so vivid about this game, what'll stick out in my mind is right after he checks in, he gets the block, and then he goes in pick and roll with CMOS, and the defense is kind of half and half. Like you can tell they know they should stay with the shooter, but they know what the scouting report is on Aziz, and CMOS hits him for a lob, and then a minute later, CMOS again pick and roll with Aziz, and the defense goes with Aziz and leaves CMOS for just a wide open, easy look from 3. And that is, I said Monday night, like when, everybody talked about, and rightfully so, the effect that having Aziz has on Vic and Odie, and the effect that having him has on the point guards because it gives them space. But my number one was CMOS and CJ because it just opens up the floor so much for those guys, and especially CMOS in that pick and roll where teams have to decide, like, do we go under and try to stop the roll, or do we fight over and let him just feast at the rim? And Georgia Tech was caught halfway multiple times.
How did they? Because a point on top of how they do the pick and roll is, I don't know how much paint, like pure paint touches he got, but like with him and now Vic, like it's going to be interesting to see, do teams hard double?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Or are they scared of the quick pass out if they do that, or if they don't, then it's 1-on-1 with a dude that can easily, elevate above what they probably have and go that way.
So Vic did not attempt a 2 tonight, Dave.
Well, I saw he was 5 for 6 from 3.
Those were the only shots he took. He did not attempt a 2 tonight.
He smiled more tonight than I've ever seen him smile in a game, I think.
Well, it's what we talked about, and why we saw frustration out of him in the first couple games is because this is what he's worked on. He's worked on being that like pick and pop, like the defense is going to leave him standing wide open.
I'm getting destroyed in the comments.
You're getting crushed. It's great. I love it. The defense is going to leave him standing wide open at the top of the key. And when they do, he is going to knock down rhythm, step in 3-point shots because he's very comfortable doing it now. Now, from the wing, I'm a little less giddy about him trying those, but straight away, wide open, like take every one of those you can get, Vic. And once you see a couple of them go in, boy, he was like, all right. So then he started taking a couple contested ones, and those are still going in. But he even said at the end of the game, I probably shouldn't have taken that last one. It wasn't a good one. It was from the wing. It was contested. But when you're 5 for 5, sometimes you're going to let one fly.
But you got to know that you're due, and you need to stop so you can say that you shot 5 for 5 from 3. No,
yeah, but at that point, they were up 30-something at that point. So
I'd rather still just be able to be like, I was perfect instead of I was 5 for 6.
He was a bit mad. I think he was a bit mad at himself for that.
Because, let's be real. That's flirting with the laws of averages there.
Yeah. But all in all, man.
I saw my favorite player's streak of double-digit points ended tonight, maybe because of a 1 for 7 night from 3. But how'd my guy do?
And he was fine. He had a really good game. It was so spread out, and there were so many guys playing well that,
he scored 90, and the leading scorer has 15. So it's pretty hard to do that if everybody's not, pitching in a little bit.
Aziz with 8, Seamoss with 8, Jizzle with 8, Odie with 6, Dan with 6, Locken with 15, Newman with 12, CJ with 11, Day with 9. And Day, like a lot of those looks, Dave, were clean shots that he has hit.
Yeah. Have you checked on Berg to make sure his head is still intact and it hasn't?
We need to hear from. We're gonna have to hear from Berg soon.
Like I just want to make sure that he's okay, right? Like he hasn't just he's not in just an exploded stump of a neck. Just because his head actually
he's what he is right now? You know what he is right now?
Creamy.
He's creamed.
He's the Randy Marsh. Just...
Look, if you want a team that's fun to watch, and I was saying this to Aaron earlier, Dave, and I'm interested in your thought on this. I know you didn't see it tonight, but you've watched the majority of the minutes that this team has played. I can't remember how far back I have to go where there hasn't been times during a game where just because of substitutions or whatever, that there's like a roster on the floor for 2 or 3 minutes that you're like, I don't care for this one.
Well, I think it's a little bit about what you and I talked about. You have enough guys right now that kind of whoever you put out there, the ball's just you're not going to get stuck. You're not going to get stuck in a lineup that, where the offense gets bogged down, or you're not sure who the guy that needs to be taking the shot in, or the opposite. Everybody knows who the guy who needs to be taking the shot is. And so it's much easier to defend, and you're just not seeing those. Sure, there's going like the first half against NKU. I thought there were a couple parts, but like you're just not seeing those stretches where you're like, if this one guy isn't getting buckets, like we're not scoring.
Right.
Or,
right.
you know,
what did we say last year? Like if Landers and DeJulius weren't having 17-point nights each, this team was pretty doomed. Like it was an uphill climb to win a game.
So even if you have a bad segment, it's not 12-4, it's 12-7 or 12-8.
Right.
And you're only down a couple, or you're still up a couple. It doesn't change the momentum of the game in 1 4-minute period, because you just kind of get stuck with a lineup that's not the scoring lineup. Like, I don't think they have a scoring lineup right now. They have just a bunch of guys that are playing well, and they're feeding off of each other. And you can have one segment where multiple guys are like the scoring lineup.
Right. Well, I mean, even if you go like, you know, Day or Jizzle and John Newman and Aziz or Odie or whatever, where by our standards, that's like your defensive, you know, you've got pressure at the point guard. You've got, you know, John Newman on the wing playing great defense. And then you have an active big down low. You're not sacrificing offense.
No, because
like,
you're not create offense with that lineup.
Right. And that just hasn't been the case, because when they've gone to a defensive first lineup, or like, these are our top 3 defenders, we're going to put them on the floor. Like, you looked out there and you said, how is this unit going to score? I understand that this unit is out there to play defense, but how is this unit going to score? And you're not seeing that with this group. Now, are there going to be stretches in the Big 12? Like, did you see where they're at in KenPom now, Dave?
What are they, like top 40, but that's good for 9th in the conference?
They're 35 and still 9th in the conference.
Yeah. But that's what we want. Like, that's
right.
That's what we want, because like,
I prefer if they were 35th and they were maybe 7th in the conference.
But I just mean, like, what it means. But to me, that's what it means is like, every win in the conference will have value. So like,
well,
so even if you have a week where you know, remember what we always talk about with the Big East, you're 7 days away from a 3-game losing streak. Okay, yes, that is true. But you're also 7 days away, you win 2 in a row. Like, those are going to be 2 really good wins.
This is what I started to talk about a little bit on Monday, Dave, and Aaron chime in on this too. Jizzle Seamoss, Dan Skillings, and Aziz came off the bench today. And Josh, let's add Josh Reed as 5, because right now they're basically playing a 10-man rotation. How many years has there been a starting lineup better than that? The last 3, 4?
Well, no.
What do you mean? It's not
like
close to that.
I'm saying that 4 with Josh Reed would compete with the starting lineup for this team over the past 3 years, 4 years.
Sure. I like,
especially there's 2 years I know for sure. Brandon's last year and Wes's first year. That I would take that 5,
that second
11 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I know things can still change, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised as things go on, Aziz works his way into the starting lineup. But the thing that gets my attention when I just see that is what usually, you know, when you bring in your subs, you're usually bringing in, you know, guys to spell starters.
Right. Not starters.
But I'm just looking at that as like,
right.
You're bringing
starters off the bench.
Well, but you're bringing 3 of the most athletic guys on the team.
Yeah.
So
and maybe your best all-around player in CMOS.
So when the other team is subbing out their starters for their reserves, you're subbing out your starters for your best
More starters. More starters. You're subbing out your starters for more starters.
But just from an athletic standpoint, it's like we can do something like let's turn it up. Let's run now with these guys because they're fresh and athletic, more athletic than even some of the starters are. So you have this like bigger gap potentially with those guys, with who they're going to be playing against on the floor to kind of hopefully take leads and stretch them out. When typically, I mean, even the best teams, when you sub, you're just trying to maintain.
Especially if Skillings is your sixth guy off the bench, like your sixth man. That dude is a ball of energy. He's going to give you everything he has.
Like I think Wes could potentially throw different dynamics at a team with these guys that he wouldn't do with the starters, and you could stretch out things versus most teams are just trying to maintain while their top line guys catch a little bit of a break.
Well, and it leads to things, and Aziz wasn't part of this on Sunday, but it leads to things like you saw at the end of the first half against NKU, where I think their depth had NKU worn down a little bit, and NKU makes a couple mistakes.
Well, yeah, what's his name? Did he come out the entire game? I mean, maybe at the end when it was a blowout, but their best Sam Vincent or whatever. I mean, I don't think he came out the first half.
Right. So you get to the end of the half, and boom, 12-2 run, and Aaron, what else do you have on the game? I don't want to have you just sit there.
It's fine. I mean, I was going to let you guys have your show. I mean, it's your show, and that's fine.
I know, but you watched the game. Dave didn't watch the game, so I want your input on the game before we move on because there's value in it. You watched the game.
Yeah. Just point guard play continues to be a thing of beauty. They set the tone for this game, and they continue to do so. Having rim protection was something that was established very early in this game, as we saw that continue. And even Vic got in later in the game. I feel like he was maybe playing inspired ball with the way that Aziz was playing. You saw him have a block, I guess, midway through the second half, where he just kind of chuckled about it as the guy tried to reverse his path to the hoop, and it didn't really work out for him as Vic got a nice block there. I was happy to see CMOS start to shoot the ball with what looked like better confidence than I think that he's had maybe this season. People have said already, and Todd just mentioned it here, transition ball was amazing tonight. There was nothing offensively or defensively that I had any complaint with in the way that they ran transition ball. I don't know. It was we talk about the football team in their most recent win. They played complementary football. I think this is about as close as you can come to complementary basketball. There wasn't anything that I can really fault them on. They did everything the way that you want to see.
Yeah, I mean, like Aaron, how many times have we watched this Cincinnati program start running a fast break, and you're just kind of like, oh boy, I hope they get two on this one.
Well, and there was one I almost felt that way in the first half. Dan breaks away, and I think John had fed him the pass that led to the fast break, and he ended up getting fouled. But I was like, you're going. Was almost 2-on-1. And not in Cincinnati's favor. It was two defenders on Dan, and he still managed to get to the hoop, and it didn't go in, but he got to the line. And I think in that type of situation, that's all you can ask for. He didn't show any slow, and he went strong to the hoop. And in past iterations of this team, especially the last 3-4 seasons, I don't know that, depending on who's got the ball, in those types of situations, I don't expect it to come out that way.
Well, it's certainly not all in the point guards, but I feel like, and Chad, I think you talked about this, Wes talked about this. This team is, for the first time in a long time, and this can even go back to Mick days, I think there were teams that struggled. Like this team appears to be a very good passing team.
Yeah. It helps having guys that are good at passing.
They had 13 turnovers in the second game, and they haven't had any more than 8 in any of the other games. I mean, they had 6 tonight in a game that, you know, they got a lot of opportunities, so there's more opportunities for turnovers. I mean, if you can play like this, keep your turnovers under 10. They have a 3, I want to say at least 2-1, maybe a 3-1 assist to turnover ratio right now. You know, you have guys are going to make baskets and you're not giving the ball to the other team. They're gonna be tough to beat. I mean, their 3-point percentage defense is already at a high level. I mean, like, that's only going to either stay where it is or get better with Aziz, because like teams are going to be less willing to come inside. Their 2-point percentage defense is going to get better, and teams are probably going to be shooting more shots outside the paint than they had in the first 4 games.
And Dave, with defenders that aren't afraid that they have to get back and be in, you know, perfect help position,
they can close out hard on threes because they have a backstop now.
He's such a freak. It's so wild seeing somebody that looks like that size and that length, be that.
Yeah, I mean they were already defending 3 pretty well without that back there. I mean, it's
Dave,
just I'm
dead serious.
You know, in football, when you have a great defensive line, your corners and safeties can take more chances because, you know, or vice versa. If you have great DBs, you can do more stuff because you're not worried about, you know, what's going to happen if we don't get there. So they can close out harder on threes because they're not worried about, if I don't do a good job and the guy goes around me, it's a layup. That's not going to be the case.
But my point, Dave, is a little even deeper than that. They're not going to have to close out hard because they're not going to have to leave. Right? They're not going to have to be 12 feet away.
Right.
To make sure that they're in proper help position.
Right, like 2 passes away, backside help, you know, 1 foot in the paint type stuff. Like they don't need to help that much anymore.
Right. Like you're just going to be able to, okay, I've tagged my man. I can be like, I'm still in help position, but I'm 8 feet away from him instead of 12. Right. So as that second pass comes, now all of a sudden I'm not sprinting and putting myself in bad position. I'm just there. And now, guess what? That guy's going to be he's not going to catch in rhythm and try to shoot on you because the guy is there. Like, you know what we're not talking about? How about the 4 times tonight that Georgia Tech wasn't even close, Aaron, to getting a shot off at the end of the shot clock? Like the shot clock just expired in the middle of their offense. You never see that.
And there were 2 in the first half that were really close together. But yeah, that's, I think, again, when I talk about this team playing complementary basketball, I mean, again, where are you trying to find? I'm sure Wes is going to find plenty of things that this team can do better.
Sure. There's a lot they still can improve on. Like they're not playing their best basketball yet, but.
Which is crazy because you're putting up 90 and you're blowing teams out. And I know that it's against teams
Georgia
that are
Tech's not good.
They're not at the Big 12 level. I get that. But
yeah, Georgia Tech is like 160 something in Ken Pom. Like it's not a good Georgia Tech team. Now they had a really talented freshman that made his debut tonight, who looked good and is going to be a good player for them. He also had 7 turnovers in like 21 minutes.
That'll hurt. But I think that's, again, just a hat tip to the way that Day and Jizzle have been playing, in that those are things that we're not talking about seeing out of these guys who had not seen a Division I minute prior to this season.
Like
it could be that we could be going through that, and we're not. Right.
The thing is, Dave, what is always the number one precursor to teams that win in the NCAA tournament? There's one thing that denotes the ability to be a great team in March.
Score?
No, that's part of it, but it's the teams that have both, right? It's the teams that not only score and do so efficiently, but also defend and do so efficiently. Like I think the Shabazz UConn team is like the one outlier of national champions. And I'm not saying this is a national championship team or a national championship contender. I'm not stupid. Don't cut it up and try to make it say something I'm not. What
That's
I'm
exactly
saying
what
is
you're saying.
The teams that have success do so on the back of being efficient at both. And there is potential for this team as they continue to grow to be very good and very efficient on both ends of the floor. And I think that's why people are excited, because it's not a team that is scoring 90, but giving up, 87. And it's not a team that's, holding teams to 54 like they did today, but only scoring 63. So that's what I think is getting people excited, is that there does look to be potential as they grow to be a team that is good at both ends of the floor, and that's winning basketball.
For sure.
We just haven't seen it a lot. What are you looking at?
Ken Palm.
Oh, okay. You're researching stats. I like that. I mean, Dave, they were 1.29 points per possession on offense for the game. You look at the second half and you're like, holy crap, right? 1.212 points per possession in the first half. And in the second half, 1.4. Georgia Tech, 0.783 points per possession in the game, 0.97 in the first half, 0.647 in the second half.
I mean, that's what, 2 straight games where they've been over a point per possession in both halves?
Well over, right? Over 1.2, I think. Because I think at Northern, they were 1.2 in the first half, right, Aaron? I think that was part of the argument I used against your Ebenezer Scroogeism.
I couldn't tell you, because generally when you try to argue a point that I'm making, I usually tune you out.
I think they were 1.2 and 1.5 in the second half against Northern. And then tonight, 1.2 and 1.4. So if you're going to continuously put up 1.2 points per possession, 1.3 points per possession in a game, and hold teams under 1 or around 1, that's how you win a lot of basketball games.
Yeah.
Geoffrey says we're going to beat Howard by like 30. Yeah. Howard's actually, I think Howard's probably as good, or maybe right. They're right in the Georgia Tech range. And first road game, I always, with a fairly new team, I worry about what they look like on their first road game. But
you saw how we're going to have to watch this game, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch this game at Rheingeist.
If they're able to get it on
what
their
are,
computer.
what are the viewing options for this?
There's only one. There's only one option. Howard TV.
Howard has their own TV station.
They have a live stream. So
internet TV.
All right.
We're gonna watch it at Rheingeist, drinking Cincy Lights. For the 1-year anniversary of the launch of Cincy Light at Rheingeist.
Howard is currently 2-4 and 235 in Ken Palm.
Okay, well, I thought they were a little better Ken Palm wise.
Might have been before that fourth loss.
They're over 200 in both adjusted offense and defense, but 66th in tempo. So they play fast because they stink. At least they have
internet.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. This could very well end up in a Northern Kentucky situation.
Is this a two-lane Northern Kentucky type of situation?
So at least in Northern Kentucky's defense, and I know that's what Geoff's taking a shot at. The whole campus lost internet. It had nothing to do with like the basketball game. What the fear has to be is Howard.TV or whatever the hell it is ready for 10,000 Cincinnati fans.
Well, as Ron Burgundy once said in regards to Northern Kentucky, I don't believe you.
No, I was there. They did not have any internet on the whole campus. It did, but that it happened before the game, so it wasn't a matter of like.
If I was NKU, Sid, I would have said the same exact thing.
If only they had Alta Fiber at that time.
I've seen that commercial.
It was out. Trust me when I say this. It was out before the game because we were pissed before the game. Like, I can't get online. What the hell is happening? I work in a content factory, and you shut down the content factory before the game started.
Run a hotspot, bro.
We tried. The WLW did the game that Dan and Terry were.
Oh, I know.
Passing a phone to each
from
other.
a submarine.
Geoff said, "I'm sure their school has a bigger budget than NKU, so let's hope."
Wish I was anywhere else.
Thrifty Walrus makes the best point of the night. The internet going out was a godsend in retrospect. Yeah, I wish the internet would have stayed out the entire fucking game, and then we could have just pretended like it never happened. Nobody saw it.
Can't burn the tape if it doesn't exist.
Right. There's no tape.
It was a super secret scrimmage.
They played everybody. NKU played their main guys. Shit happens, you know. All right, Aaron. Dave and I will get to it now, but I appreciate you carrying us through the first segment of this podcast.
You want to timestamp it?
Let's see if Dave and I have anything else to get to, and then we will, or
I'll be in and out. So I will leave the camera on so you can see in the corner
whether you're in or whether you're out.
So,
okay. If you want to go ahead and just timestamp it, you can timestamp it, and then we'll go from there.
Just with family here and what have you.
No, it's all good. It's the holidays. I ain't mad at you, bro.
All right.
It's all good. Dave, it's fun. Like, it's fun again. Like, I'm having a good time watching this team play basketball because they play a fun style. They don't look like they have a lot of things to like. We're gonna nitpick as we go through this. I'm gonna need you up. I'm gonna need your eyes up. I'm gonna need your eyes up.
I'm listening. I'm listening to you.
It's a bad visual, Dave. When you just come on, help me.
Nobody's watching to look at me.
Yeah, but come on. It's. We're gonna nitpick. We're gonna find things. They're gonna be games that they don't play well. We're gonna talk about the things that they don't do well in those games. But I don't look at this team with like glaring weaknesses. And we've been stuck over the past handful of basketball seasons talking about these are the glaring weaknesses, and this is why these teams are limited. I don't see those glaring weaknesses right now.
No, I don't either. I mean, there's going, when the competition gets better, that will expose certain things, but like there's not a lot that you can sit here right now and just go, this is going to be a problem no matter who they play.
Right.
Unless XYZ changes, and we're not sure that they're capable of changing it. Like we've talked about various elements in
what was it last year? It was this team does not have anybody that can consistently get in the lane and break down a defense. And that was not going to change. It didn't matter how many times we said it or how many times people told us, like, you're making excuses or your state news, blah, 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 blah. Like the reality was that team did not have anybody that could break down a defense and really cause those issues. And I'm not finding that thing yet. I think they're very good at rebounding. I think they have a chance to be really good defensively. I think they can be good offensively in a variety of different ways. I think they got a bunch of guys that can shoot the shit out of it. Like, I don't know. What is there anything you see from what you've watched that you think, maybe this is going to be where teams are able to consistently exploit them?
I mean, right now it's hard to truly find something like that because, like we said, the different lineups will present different positives and negatives, but
and different teams will present.
Right. You're not stuck. You're just not stuck right now in losing situations for very long.
Right.
The things that will get this team will get 99% of teams on a given night.
Sure. You're cold from three, or
you're not going to make 13 threes, a week after you made 20. You're going to go you're going to go a week where you shoot 25% instead of 35%. So it's just, but it's impossible to really point to a specific thing and say that thing is going to catch up with them at some point.
I think this is a good way to put it, Dave. I don't feel like there's anything they need to mask. I don't feel like there's anything okay, they're going to have to figure out how to hide this deficiency.
Yeah, it's not like we're talking about some things that I've talked about in the past with from a athlete standpoint, where you're maybe we have to play zone because we're just not able to match up on the perimeter with your more traditional wings, or maybe we have to do this because our bigs aren't really a threat offensively, which we've seen in the past. I just don't right now. There's not an element that is outside of we just had a bad shooting week, or guys got hurt, or guys got in foul trouble. Those are things that has nothing to do with the roster itself or the makeup of the roster. That's more of just a game in, game out type thing.
Well, and Geoff says, I'd like to see a little more paint presence offensively, but if they're going to shoot threes like that, I also can't complain. Well, here's the thing, Geoff. What happens if Jamil gets eligible? And that's what he is. He is a guy you throw the ball to on the low block, duck in, seal, throw it to him, bucket. Then it becomes real fun.
I just don't think as the roster is right now. I mean, and that's the point you're making with Jamil is they don't have that guy, so I'm not sure. Wanting more paint touches, who's getting the paint touches? Who are you running sets for to do that with?
Yeah, I mean, I think Aziz has some of that in him.
But I mean, he's played 20 minutes or whatever, whatever he played. So
those two guys have some of that in them, but it's not who they are. I think that's what you're getting at.
Right. Yes, Vic can do it, but where I don't think that's where he's best, or else he would have done that a lot more last year. And we saw what that was like when because of the situation offensively last year, they probably forced him to do that more.
Right.
And I don't think that's his game.
I think he's okay at it. Like I think
Right.
he's got soft, but it's not. Vic is not.
That's not option A for him.
Right. Vic is not turn, spin, duck in, seal, put his hand up, get the ball, go get a bucket. Like that's not. You're not running sets like that for Vic, because while he can do it, and it's a good change of pace for him, it's not who Vic is. It's who Jamil is. If they can get him eligible, one, if they can get him eligible, I don't know how. Like it's 11. 11 is really hard. It's probably terrible news for maybe a Josh Reed in that situation, who I think, again, you guys know I'm a huge Josh Reed guy. I think he impacts winning in a lot of ways, but we'll see. I'm not hinting at anything. I'm just saying if they were to get Jamil eligible, that's where that piece comes in, of that guy that can literally just power down the lane, spin move, hand up, throw me the ball, got it, okay, bucket, let's go back down.
Yeah, I mean, he's your space eater, back to the basket, old school,
right?
Power player.
He's an aircraft carrier. Like he is a giant human. If you have seen him, he is a giant human. And I think Thrifty Walrus is fair here. The only thing that scares him is weathering an injury at point guard if Day or Jizzle pick up something that keeps him out for a week or two. But yeah, if that's your worry, things are good. You know what our worry was 3 weeks ago? We haven't had a point guard that's dribbled a basketball in a Division I game. The point guards might suck. Now it's, if we lose one, we might be in trouble. I'll take that trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I look at it as like, show me all the teams that have 3 viable point guards.
Sure.
Like, if any, kind of like if any.
I love the setup of this team. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, those are very like things I don't really think, like, I don't think about it as far as like things that, of course, if you only have 2 point guards and one of them gets hurt, it's probably not a good thing. Like, no.
Right. Yes, correct. But it's a fun team to watch. I'm enjoying watching it so far, and tonight even furthered the belief that what does our buddy Mo Egger always say, Dave? Be good or be interesting.
Be good or be interesting.
Or be both. And right now, this team's both. Like they're good and they're interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's the fun part too is I think there's still like a lot of growth.
Yes.
That can happen. I mean, I'm sure there's also going to be some speed bumps, but like there's, whether it's individually or collectively, like this is not a team that I think we're watching going like these guys are like playing way above board, like way over their skis. Like this is going to fall off at some point. Like I don't feel that. I mean, I'm sure they're
not going to score 90 a night.
They're not going to make 23s one game and then make 13, the next or whatever that number was. But like, it's not like we're watching like a bunch of guys that we have a pretty good idea of what they are, and they're just playing out of their freaking minds. Because then you'd be like, well, that's not repeatable for much longer.
Right.
I mean, like, CJ Frederick's essentially did nothing offensively for 2 weeks.
Except hit threes in like quick bunches, which is honestly what this team, like for this team, that's invaluable.
Right. That's what I mean. Like they're playing great, and he isn't like, I'm not sure he's been, out like as good as we think he can be. I think CMOS probably feels the same way. Like he probably feels like I can play better. I can, contribute more in whatever way he feels that way. And yet they're still, they have just right now they have a lot of options to go to.
And we're seeing what we've talked about in the preseason. This is a team that every night it's gonna, Dan had 26, 25, 26, whatever. And then he had 6. And it wasn't like a death knell. Like, the guy, if the guy that you need to score 26 only scores 6 the next night, then your offense is going to fall off. And the night he scored 26, they had 90. And the night he scored 6, they had 89.
Yeah.
And there's just one of the things I kind of like noted mentally. We talk about that a lot from game to game, but tonight it was like half to half.
Right.
I'll go over it real quick. Like Vic had 12 in the first half. Seamas had 8 in the first half. And those were your 2 leading guys. And then in the second half, CJ had 11. And then everybody else essentially had between 3 and 6. And it totaled up to 49 second half points. One guy in double figures. 1 and a half, they scored 49 points.
Yeah.
I'd love to know when in UC history that's happened. Where you score 49 and a half and only one, and it wasn't like CJ went off for like 27 and they scored 49. He had 11. He barely scored in double digits, and it all happened in that like 7-minute stretch where they scored 30. He had 11 of them. He didn't score again, and they still scored 49 points and a half with nobody else above 6. What? How does that work? How does the math on that work?
I don't think, well, maybe, guessing part of it is Georgia Tech not great on the defensive end.
Of course, but I'm just like, I'm not, look, like I said, Georgia Tech is not good. Like they're one of the lower tier.
But this is so much less about the opponent and to me more about the way UC is playing, because God, I mean,
yes.
Even the Nick days, how many times were we considerably better than a team? And it was a 11-point win that was not close, but like never in doubt. But it was just like, we should have beat this team by 25.
And in one half, they would have had 41, which were like, oh, damn, for mixed.
And then in the other half, they'd have like 24.
20, yeah.
And they'd win 67-55.
Right. And we would be like, oh, comfortable. They beat the spread. Like, it is what it is.
So, but
that's an interesting point. What a blessing it was for Newman to get hurt early. That's never, no. Let's not do that. But we're seeing the John Newman that I saw going into last season, that I said was going to be right up there with David DeJulius and Landers Nolly for like most important, best player on the team. And then he gets hurt on night 1, and that team was missing something. What they were missing was John Newman. What this team is benefiting from is a very, very good John Newman. Lambig, I did want to get to this. The first half, they could have gotten down because of all the fouling and not being able to pull away. I commend them for what happened, because I know everybody was mad at the refs in the first half, and that's what happens when you get a lopsided whistle. There were a couple calls I didn't agree with, but they were fouling a shit ton in the first half. Don't foul. Stop fouling. But
if you don't want refs to call fouls, don't foul.
Right.
Like, they don't call. I mean, most of the time they're not just calling things, for the sake of it. They're not getting paid on the whistle.
And guess what? When you foul a lot, like they did in the first half, there's going to be a couple that you're like, oh, the referee screwed us on that one. Yeah, but guess what? You were at 18 fouls with 11 minutes to go in the first half or whatever it was. Like, you fouled too much in the first half. And Georgia Tech scored 32 points in the first half. 14 of them were at the free throw line. Why couldn't Cincinnati pull away? Because they fouled a shit ton.
Well, and because
there's
no flow in the game. Like, you're constantly walking the ball up against a set defense. And,
guess how many free throws they had in the second half, Dave?
1.
Yep.
Really?
1.
Yeah.
They were 1 for 1. Georgia Tech was 1 for 1. They shot 18 free throws in the first half. In the second half, they shot 1. Guess what happened in the second half, Dave? They found a rhythm.
The tempo of the game increased.
Right. They found a rhythm. They got up and down. They made shots, and they pulled away. So, yeah, you're exactly right, Lambig. And I wanted to get to that, and I hadn't yet. But thank you a million times over for getting to that, because it was one of my key points of the game was they fouled too much in the first half. And credit to Georgia Tech, they were playing downhill, they were attacking, and they were creating contact. And then the second half, they stopped fouling. Now, the interesting part going forward, Dave, is how much less this team fouls as they learn to play with Aziz, because they don't have to.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, you're always going to guard the ball hard, but you don't feel like you have to force a guy a certain direction, and no one's going to mentally be like, I'm going to let my guy get by me because Aziz is back there. Like, that's not a thing that's going to happen, because Wes will not. I imagine he wouldn't tolerate that. Because if you turned around and said, "Coach, it's okay, I'm not going to guard my guy as hard because I know Aziz is back."
I got Aziz back there, right?
He'd be like, "Go sit down." So that's not the case. But yes, you don't have to probably extend as far. Like, you don't have to be in a guy's face, maybe if he's not a shooter at the 3-point line. Like, you can play back a little bit. You're not putting yourself in a position to foul, because feel like you have to guard the ball much harder than you would if you didn't have some rim protection.
And as we talked about, you don't have to be 12 feet away on the closeout. You only got to be 8 feet away. So when you close out, you're there, and he has a harder time going around you because you're not off balance and, making a big leap.
I just got to say, like, 93 people in this live thing at 12:09 in the morning. It's pretty hilarious to me.
Did you see what we have Monday?
No.
There's I think we topped out at 320
on the BBP.
On the night, on the night Aziz got eligible and we had less. I think we topped out.
I figured with Wes being on there.
Yeah, he helped out a little bit.
He helps a bit, right?
It was nice.
It's not your guys' ugly mugs. We know that,
right? No, Wes is much more Royer. Royer's he's young still. It'll catch up to him in time, but
it's like half our age,
right? I do think we might have a good BBP guest for Monday too. So, sometimes you get an AD. Sometimes you get an AD on Monday nights. Sometimes you get a coach. Sometimes.
Oh, hey now.
I'm just little nuggets, a little sprinkle, drip, if you will. She said, "Thank you for this content."
None of the guests.
Well, sometimes it's timing. Timing is sometimes really important.
They probably don't want to talk to me anyway.
How about this, Dave? We might go head coach, athletic director, one of the greatest players to ever play for the program in 3 weeks on the BBP. That's a tough look for you.
There you go. Which program? Football or basketball?
Basketball.
Oh, basketball.
A guy that might be filling in on the radio.
Oh,
that might be one of the new radio voices. He might.
That's all right. I'll get my guy December 20th.
We're going to be okay on this podcast. Like,
December 20th,
don't worry
December
about it. We're going to be all right.
21st.
Yeah, we're going to be all right. But do you have anything else about basketball that you want to discuss at this point?
No, because I've talked about a game I didn't see 1 second of for an hour. So I think that's pretty pretty impressive in and of itself.
Like 40 minutes. You missed the first 15, 12.
Barely.
15.
No, not even that many.
No. Okay. Well, you did a great job.
Well, hey, that's what you pay me.
One of the reasons I have you here is your ability to speak for 50 minutes on a game you didn't watch. That's going to timestamp it. Oh, crap. Where is it? Hold on. Give me a second.
Oh, come on, man.
I had it pulled up and then I had to do something else and now it's gone. This timestamp brought to you by Turtles Brew. I just don't know where it went. It disappeared. It vanished on me. And that's not great. Damn it.
You don't know the Turtles Brew timestamp by heart?
It's always in the same spot. It's always in the same spot, and it's not.
Try a Turtles Brew, the only zero sugar, zero carb, gluten-free, bourbon-infused tea that helps save the sea turtles. Visit www.turtlesbrew.com for more info and locations.
Flavors: lemonade tea, strawberry mint, cherry lime, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. They're in Toledo. They're in Columbus. They're expanding throughout Ohio. Over 100 locations now. And you go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. I don't know how it got misplaced in there, but it got misplaced in there somewhere. Professional content creator, by the way. That's what we do. Yeah. Professional.
That was a line you dropped earlier in the show, so I thought it was
I deserve that one.
It was an excellent callback.
Yeah, I deserve that one. Professional content creator. I deserve that one. It just got lost in the email chain. The problem with that one is there's literally 50 emails in that chain, and I couldn't find it because I'm an idiot.
You need to copy and paste all of them into a Word doc, so you just have them all on one sheet, and then
but I've never had a problem finding it before until tonight.
Still doesn't mean that you shouldn't do that.
I know you're
instead of going through 4 different emails to read 4 different ad reads or whatever.
Well, I mean, I just have them. I pull them up. They're right here in order. This time, I couldn't find the one that had the ad read. I do have the ad read for Team Ticker as we get to football. And start talking about the Bearcats game on Saturday. Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign for Bearcat fans. If you're looking for the perfect Christmas present for your favorite Bearcat fan, a man cave, a she shed, a gift for that special Bearcat fan, go to teamticker.com. Pick up your Team Ticker today. Also great for dorm rooms. They are live in every suite in Fifth Third Arena. You can see mine right here. I've got the Sea Paw. Aaron has the Bearcat, and $50 off.
Not today.
If you go to teamticker.com and enter the code Black Friday. So $50 off. It's a great present. You couldn't find a better present for your Bearcat fan than Team Ticker. So go get that and rock it out. All right, Dave. Saturday, maybe I've never ever in my life wanted a noon game more than I wanted a noon game Saturday.
I mean, devastated.
I don't like noon games. I don't want anything to do with noon games. I wish noon games were abolished from college sports. But I wanted a noon game on Saturday more than
Oh.
anything I could ever have imagined in my life.
So much.
And instead, have we heard 7 or 7:30?
Oh, 7:30.
7:30, as late as humanly
Even
possible.
that extra little half hour, they got us. So good luck getting home before midnight.
Dave, is there a path? I've been very high on Kansas all year. I love Lance Leopold's offense. It is creative. It doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like who the pieces and the parts are. They just plug a new guy in, and it's still outstanding. Devin Neal. If Cincinnati has had the problems that they have had stopping opponents' offenses over the past month, outside of Houston, I don't see. I'll get in trouble for this. I'll get yelled at. I don't see a path to victory against this Kansas team unless they are just deflated from being eliminated from the Big 12 race, and they just played Kansas State, and their season, they're going to a bowl, and I don't know what winning Saturday really does for them, but looking at these two teams and where we are at in week 13, I don't see a path to victory.
Well, I mean, there's two things I would point to. The first being, like, their defense is not great. So, UC could certainly have some offensive success Saturday. And two is, I don't know the status of, I tried to look that up earlier while we were on here. I could not find anything definitively, like, on the status of Jason Bean, their normal starting quarterback. So the other thing could be just that the if he doesn't play, then the other, this is named Chase Bullard. I could be totally getting that wrong.
I think Ballard.
Just, he could still just not have a very, I don't think he played very well against Kansas State. It was a lot of Devin Neal and their running game, which is very, very good. And so I would lean towards those two reasons as to why.
Cole Ballard.
As to why the Bearcats could win. My biggest concern is just the amount of shifts and motion and just player movement and misdirection and bootlegs and rollouts and all sorts of stuff that they do offensively. We saw it against West Virginia. Just such a hard time with the quarterback run game and what they then did off of that. Bean is an exceptional runner. He's exceptionally fast, especially for a quarterback. But if he doesn't play, that element is probably reduced pretty greatly. But last week we just had such a hard time handling that. I would be pretty worried that we're not going to be able to recognize all of those things that they try to do pre-snap, and we're going to just have guys out of position and not where they're supposed to be, and give up a lot of stuff because of that. Like,
you are a college football junkie.
Yeah.
Is this one of the most fun offenses in college football?
When it's like, I think that's why everybody was so high on them this year, was you got Jaden Daniels coming into the season. You got two really good backs. They're fine at receiver. Like, I don't think they have any NFL dudes, and I mean, maybe they do, but it's not anything like wild. But it's just,
they don't have Jamar Chase.
It's just all the different stuff they do, all the different looks they give you. It just makes it very hard to be on your game every single play. Where you're not getting fooled by things. You're not drifting. You're not losing contain. They just do so much in that regard that eventually they're going to pop something on you.
I'm just terrified.
I'm a huge Lance Leipold fan. Like, I think every open job right now should be trying to get him. I mean, winners win. The dude's won everywhere he's been. He won how many national championships in Division III? He goes to Kansas when it's as big of a mess that college football has seen in the last 10 years.
It was the worst job in at least high major football, but one of the worst jobs in football.
One of the jobs you always wanted to pick on NCAA football, to build a team up from the bottom.
Well, I wouldn't know anything about that, but he has certainly done that. I mean, to not only be competitive, but to win game, like, it's an unbelievable coaching job. Like, he is a true just football coach, like, in every sense of the word. And like, yeah, the way UC played last week cannot instill a ton of confidence that they're going to be able to handle what they throw at them offensively. Now, like I said, the defense is very mediocre to very average. Like, and so UC could find success there, but I'm much more concerned at what the defense does.
What are the holes in their defense? Like, what are the things that UC can do?
They've got some good. I think UC can run the ball. They've got some pretty good DB, but I don't think they're super athletic in the front seven. It's just overall, it's just, it's fine, but we're still, like, as good as they've been, we're still talking Kansas. That's still a build for them. It's never going to be like a recruiting hotbed, so to speak. So
they're not playing like an LSU team that's just not having a good year, right? I think that's a fair, like, LSU, even when they're not having a good year, they're putting dudes on the field that are better than your dudes.
Right. They're still uber athletic and
massive and fast and
Yeah. So, let me let's see. I mean, their defense is 67th in SP plus. So it's like middle of the pack. Like, you can find some success against the 67th ranked defense. You
would hope, at least.
Yeah. UC's defense just has fallen off a damn cliff the second half of this year.
Whatever it is, teams have figured out. Like, they've figured it out.
They're down to 71st defensively.
Yeah. And this, at one point, like, where's the run defense? Because it was top 10 a month ago.
Yeah.
Going into Oklahoma State, they were a top 10 run defense, and they have been destroyed. And this is the run offense I would want to face last if my run defense was struggling.
Well, I mean, they ran, like, they have, and I think Coach Satterfield mentioned it, like, they have gone up against two of the top 5 rushing teams in the country in West Virginia and UCF.
Sure.
And then Ollie Gordon. And the run defense was quite good, for the most part, outside of a couple Donovan Smith runs. But, like, there's a difference between holding teams to 100 yards rushing and allowing, like, almost 300.
Or 400. They give up 400 yards rushing last week.
So, you can still play better rushing offenses and not give up 300, 400 yards.
Right. It hasn't just been that they've faced good rushing offenses. It's that they faced good rushing offenses and completely crumbled as a defense. It is both. Yeah. It is not one or the other. It is not, we've been really good against the run and we were holding teams to 100 yards and we faced a really good rushing offense and we gave up 210. It is, we were really good against the run And now we are getting our ass kicked up and down the field every possession, almost, it feels like.
Yeah, I think there's I would say a lack of athleticism in the front seven has been exposed.
Yeah.
Their roster is still built to blunt force trauma, crappy AAC teams, and you're just not gonna do that at this level week in and week out. I think that's one area that I've been disappointed with defensively is, the sack numbers aren't there, but it's like, because who are the athletes? Who are the twitchy dudes that are going to beat a tackle one-on-one fast enough to get in the backfield? Like, they were close a lot of times against West Virginia, but those close plays still resulted in completions down the field.
Right.
And I think we're just seeing that the way the roster was constructed previously worked in that setup, and it's just not working in this setup. I mean, I'm not discounting anything those guys have done. I would never. There's nothing that they've done that I feel like I would say like, they're not bringing their best effort. I'm just like you're not gonna get it done with on a down in down out basis with that. I don't think with that style of front seven.
Right. I mean, ultimately, Dave, it comes down to, for me, if Cincinnati lets them get out in front early, it's going to be ugly.
Yeah. If they can get into their bag and they can do all their different stuff, and then you're just kind of chasing your tail.
Yeah, I mean, they've got to score early. I don't even know that they have to score often per se, because that's just not who this team is. But if it's 14-3 at the end of the first quarter, it's going to be a long night in the nip.
Yeah.
It has to be, you have to be up 10-7 or at worst be down 7-3 or 10-7 or and we've seen those go horribly wrong also. Don't get me wrong. But if it's 14-3 at the end of the first quarter, it's going to be a brutal, painful senior night in Nippert Stadium. I just don't see any way around that.
Yeah, I would agree.
So if Jason Bean is not there, and it is their freshman quarterback, which he wasn't good enough against Kansas State, clearly, because that was a close game that Kansas State kind of played better. Kansas State was the better team. I think if you watch some of that game, by the end, it was like, okay, Kansas State is the better team. But I just, it's one of those things, this is what we do, right? Our job mentally is to find, as we talk about this, find the path to, what is the path to UC winning this game? And I don't see many paths.
In the two games the quarterback has played, he's, thrown 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown, and he's 20 for 36 for 286 yards total. I mean, against Texas Tech in a game they lost 16-13, he's 9 for 20 for 124 yards and an interception. Yeah. I mean, he's a little better against
downs.
Yeah, he's a little better against Kansas State, but still threw 2 picks. So
it's basically the passing game is just an extension of the run game. It's almost
we're throwing it when we absolutely have to.
Well, I mean, you might not agree with this, but it's almost like a triple option military school where they don't throw it, but instead of they do throw it, but they just do throw it as part of the running game. Like they're not going over the top. They're not trying to beat you over the middle or down the seam. Like they're just, getting it out to the backs, getting out to, quick hitters to the wide receivers and try to let them make plays in space or whatever the case may be. But ultimately, like, he's not going to be back there in the pocket, taking advantage of the 3 seconds he might have, 4 seconds he might have to find a guy pushing down the field.
Well, yeah, I mean, he had 162 yards passing against Kansas State, and he hit 1 for 59 and 1 for 33. So he had 92 yards out of the 162 in 2 completions.
Right. So that's good news if you're a Cincinnati fan, because he's not going to be back there trying to beat you over the top, which this defense has been historically frustrating. I'm not going to say they've been historically bad, but historically frustrating. I don't know of any defense I can remember here, sans like, the end of the Tuberville era, where you just knew if the ball was going up over the top, it was going to be complete or a personal foul or a pass interference or whatever. But I still like their rush offense might be enough. They might put up another 450 yards rushing against this defense. And if they do that, it doesn't matter how much they can pass the ball.
Yeah. It probably doesn't. I mean, they have, they're 7-4, and their losses are, they got pretty good at Texas. They lost by 7 at Oklahoma State. They lost by 3 against Texas Tech, and they lost by 4 in a game they were winning a good deal of against Kansas State. So, I mean, 3 of the top 4 teams in the conference beat them, none by more than 7 points. So, like, they're, they rushed for 399 against UCF, won that game by 29, beat Oklahoma, beat Iowa State, beat BYU. So they're good. They're a good football team.
In case you're wondering, those are all teams that Cincinnati lost to.
Yeah,
Iowa State, Oklahoma, BYU. So I don't have a ton more to talk about here. What are you going with?
Oh, I'll go 31-20.
I think that sounds about right. I think, probably a late Kansas touchdown pulls it away. Maybe it's 24-14 going into the fourth quarter. Kansas scores a touchdown to make it 31-14, and then UC scores a touchdown to get it to 31-21, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I unless they find a way to do the unthinkable and find themselves like they get a pick six, or like you go down,
get after this guy for some turnovers, get some. I mean, he's been sacked 5 times in the last 2 games. I mean, can you get some sacks? Can you get a strip fumble? Like, they're going to have to create something defensively.
Right. Like, can you go down early and get up 7-3, and then you make them make a mistake, and all of a sudden you're up 14-3, and like you have to figure out a way over 2.5 quarters to hang on. That's the path to, like, that's the only path to victory that I see. Find a way to make them make a mistake, and you take advantage. That's also been one of our biggest concerns about this team all season, is that when the opponent has made a mistake, UC is not taking advantage. And then next thing you know, the opponent makes a mistake, UC doesn't do anything with it, and then they go down on the next drive, and a 4-point game becomes an 11-point game. And, look, I will say this, Dave. I know this is not going to be popular. I know people are going to like hiss and boo at me for this. For Emory Jones' sake, I hope he can find a way to play really well and win this game. I like that kid, man. Like,
I mean, they're all Bearcats. I hope they all play well.
Yeah, but he's taken a lot of heat, and rightfully so, because in the middle of the season he didn't play well. Like Lance, I was on with Lance and Rocky tonight, and they asked me, like, what's the legacy of Emory Jones at Cincinnati? And the legacy of Emory Jones at Cincinnati is a guy that's been tough. He's gone out there and answered the bell, but ultimately he hasn't done enough to get this team wins. And if you don't win, you're not going to be remembered well.
Right.
And I have a ton of respect for the kid because he's never backed down. He's never like big timed us and been like, I'm not, hey, can we talk to Emory today? And a lot, in a tough situation in a losing season, kids will say no. Like,
he didn't pull Caleb Williams.
Yeah. Right. Like, so I have an enormous amount of respect for who Emory Jones is as a human. He hasn't been good enough as a quarterback this year to get this team over the hump, and that will ultimately define his legacy. But I would love to see him just rise up on senior day, his last college game, and like at least give himself like a lasting memory at Nippert Stadium. Do I think it's reasonable to predict that? No. Am I going to predict that? No. But if it happens, I'm going to be really fucking happy for the kid. Grown ass man now, like, he's played a lot of college football, but it just sucks to see a guy that you have a lot of respect for professionally, because that's what this is. They're getting paid now. Yeah. Kid made a lot of money coming here. Professionally, he has handled himself, especially through a shitty season. He's handled himself incredibly well, and I would love to see him walk off the field on Saturday night, like with a victory. With the way this defense has been, I don't know that he matters a ton in this equation, because if they can't get stops, it doesn't matter if he plays well and gets you a lead, and then Kansas goes right down the field and takes it back.
Yeah.
Will there be a Simone family tailgate?
I don't know. We will. I'm sure we'll be discussing that tomorrow. I'm not sure what the status of everybody else is right now. I anticipate being there. So
okay.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Just like the one time we wanted.
I know everybody was like wanting noon.
Yeah, and like there is a playoff game in this town happening at the same time.
There is.
Yeah.
Oh, what what sport?
The footy ball team is in the FC, like in the MLS semifinals.
Got it.
At 7:30, I think their start time is the exact same as the UC start time. So I'm not going to blame anybody that goes to that game over the.
Oh, I will, because that's ridiculous.
Look, it's a team playing for a championship, Dave.
Okay.
It's a team playing for a championship. I don't agree with it. Like I'm not, I don't have much love for that franchise based on experiences from many moons ago. I do give them a shit ton of credit for being the best team in Major League Soccer this year. But it's going to impact what the stands look like, because there is a team that's playing really well. Kudos to them for getting it figured out. But
sure,
it's look, I'm trying to be fair, Dave. I'm trying to be fair.
Why?
It's
they don't pay any of our bills.
It's my nature.
Oh yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure.
If there was a Simone family tailgate, the under/over would have to be really high, right, to get you through this?
I don't know.
Or would it just be like you're just going to casually sip on a few beers and have a Jello shot or two and head out at halftime because it got cold?
Yeah, I mean that. I don't know how much tailgating I'll do. I'm saying I will be at the game. Might yeah. I'm not sure.
You're gonna tailgate and leave?
No,
you're gonna be an Indiana fan.
Not
tailgate and get the hell out.
Not tailgate as much. Just more of a go to the game.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah. So you show up, you park in your spot, you drink 2 Cincy Lights, you have a Jello shot, then you go to the game.
Could be something like that. Okay.
I don't hate you for that. All right. I don't. We still have an ad read or two to do. So I will go back and I will try to find. See, I found it this time. I had it on the ready. That's a timestamp brought to you by our good friends at Turtles Brew. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, gluten-free, 6% ABV, bourbon-infused sweet tea. That's the part that Aaron forgot. Lemonade tea, cherry lime, strawberry mint, raspberry peach, orange vanilla. There's over 100 locations now in Ohio. Go to turtlesbrew.com for more information and locations. A portion of the proceeds go to save the sea turtles. Who doesn't love sea turtles, Dave?
I mean, I do.
I get 200 characters to try and fit a read in for the scroll. Give me a break.
You forgot a part. That when you do an ad read, you got to have all the parts. You forgot a part.
I was saving the day.
Our final ad read of the night: Home Field Apparel Black Friday sale. Again, code Black Friday, all caps, no spaces. Black Friday, 20% off. It's their biggest sale of the year. They have all of the best retro UC gear you could dream to find. Dave, did you see the pictures of those black Jumpman jerseys tonight? Not that Home Field has them.
I saw.
It felt so right to see the guys.
I certainly saw, video of the game driving home and whatnot. But yeah,
it felt right. But Black Friday, 20% off. The sale ends November 26th. It's the biggest discount they offer all year. Items, here's the important part. Items are subject to sell out. So if you want to get the joggers, the hoodies, the quarter zips, the crew necks, whatever it is, the t-shirts.
How much percent off?
20% off.
20% off the bomber jacket.
The bomber jacket, 20% off.
There you go.
It's their biggest sale of the year. The BCJ 23 only got you 15%. 20% off with this. They're the perfect gift for any sports fan in your life. And if you're like Dave, look, Rachel's a Bearcat fan, but she's got other loyalties. Like, you don't just have to buy. You can get the UC stuff for yourself and then get the other stuff that they have on the website, all the other teams that they have for your significant other. For
your favorite Bearcat podcasters.
Right. You can get all of that for 20% off your entire order. Promo code Black Friday, all caps. Black Friday, all caps. And that'll get you taken care of. Dave, what are your thoughts on the Big 12 this weekend? Because I guess they said there's 125, 126 options.
Yeah, 128. Depending
the
on
128 the tiebreaker scenarios as this thing gets to the wire. If Texas beats Texas Tech, Texas is in.
right.
And then who the hell knows what's going to happen with everybody else?
And that's, well, I mean, I don't think it's that, like, Oklahoma State plays BYU at home. They're not losing that game.
Yeah, if it was at BYU, maybe some crazy shit would happen, but I can't see a world where Oklahoma State loses to BYU.
No, I mean, I know they went and lost to UCF 2 weeks ago, and that was a big surprise, but like, I'm just not seeing them with the opportunity to play in the championship with a win. I don't think that anything crazy is going to happen. I think Texas wins. I think Oklahoma State wins. I think that's your championship game.
Any of the games like specifically like interest you as it might be like spoiler or like I guess that's the hard part though. Is like I can't imagine Texas losing to Texas Tech. I can't imagine Oklahoma State losing to BYU. But
no, they're both playing at home. Texas is still playing for a shot to go to the playoff.
Right.
Yeah, it's, Oklahoma State kind of sputtered through the first half against Houston and then hammered them in the second half. Yeah, I think both teams are BYU's playing a backup quarterback on the road last game of the year. Their offense is not good. Like,
I hate that team.
Like, I just no idea how they would win that game.
Yeah. Saturday, what else are you like? I mean, obviously
Ohio State, Michigan for sure.
Yeah. Have you seen some of the Ryan Day stuff?
Not really.
So apparently, Catapult is the business that teams use to store their practice data.
Yeah,
like
I know. I know
who
Catapult is. Yeah.
Apparently, two of the higher ups at Catapult are former Ohio State
like
staffers. And there's a rumor going around that Ryan Day has had access to the back end of Catapult, where you can go and watch other teams' practices.
I love it. All the more conspiracy theories, the better. Which will make it even worse for him if they were to lose again, because it's like, not only is Jim Harbaugh not there, maybe you had all their info and you couldn't even beat him again. Like,
let's be honest, Dave. Let's be honest. If there is any morsel of truth to that, even the slightest morsel of truth to that, it is way worse than sending a guy to a game with his cell phone to film. If you have entire practices where you can just go through every play of practice and analyze.
Well, I mean, it's not like the whole like advanced scouting in person. Like, that's an actual rule. You can't do that. But like, and this is what I've heard several people talk about. Like, and it's because it's just understood. Everybody does it. Like you don't think you have UC coaching staff. You have Josh Stepp, tight ends coach. His brother is a coach at South Carolina. Like, you don't think if we had a crossover game that they would just casually talk about the like.
Right.
So it happens, but like, which would you rather have? The Connor Stallion sitting in the bleachers with a camera phone, or
Catapult with
or the supposed other coaches that have been sharing info where it's already broken down, where it's like, these are what their signs mean. Like, of course you'd rather have that, but that's not against the rules, because you kind of know everybody does it anyway, and there's nothing you can really do to keep a coach from talking to another coach that just maybe they're just buddies or whatever. But I'm for more brothers. I'm just for the most absurd things possible. Like I saw message board genius today that Ryan Day's taken the Texas A&M job. According to the Texas A&M person on Texas Ags. I want insanity. I want conspiracy theories. I never want the story to die. Like it's great theater.
I'm here for all the Walmart t-shirt Ohio State fans who were all holier than thou a week ago. Our coach would never, to just go down in shambles.
I root for that, just general.
Correct.
Light, basically.
Absolutely.
But no, I mean, there's Friday night, you got the Texas game, and then you also got Oregon State. Looking forward to watching that one. There's not a great 3:30 game. So like if the weather is pretty good, get out there, tailgate. It's not going to be like super cold. Well, could be sunny. So all in all, end of November, like could be way worse, man. We've been to some ECU at Paul Brown Stadium. That game was gross. There's been some much worse game conditions than I think what we're going to get on Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Well, G is calling Aaron a hippie.
You kept me here till almost 1 a.m. So
yeah. I mean, it was a fun show. We had a good time.
We did.
So go get some sleep and get up in the morning and make your lasagna for Thanksgiving.
That's right.
That's going to wrap it up. Thanks to Aaron for popping in and talking about the Bearcats whipping Georgia Tech's ass. And thanks to Dave for being, the wonderful human that Dave is.
Oh,
we'll see you next time. We might see you on Friday night for a 3 Keys. And we'll see how it goes. That's the podcast. We'll see you right here very soon. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family tomorrow. We appreciate you all and love you to death. That's the BCJ podcast presented by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com.